Hello, welcome to my video on how to make a wire rose out of chicken wire, all ready for Valentine's Day, or any time of the year really. So my name's Danny, let's get into it. So you will need a pair of wire cutters, a pair of needle nose pliers, a drill for winding up the stem, some red gloss spray paint, some red acrylic paint, some green acrylic paint. I went for sap green, a paintbrush, medium sort of size, some clear coat lacquer. I like to use matte finish, some chicken wire. So I went for 5 hexagonals high, and this is actually half of a 900mm strip, so this is roughly around 45 centimeters, 17 inches for you imperials. 3 strips of thin wire, or you can use 1 thick wire or 2 thicker wire if you like. So to make the stem, get your 3 pieces of wire, push them all together on one side and push them into the middle of the drill, and then start to close whilst holding it together to keep it all together, and to squeeze it all nice and tight. So it's easier to do this bit by hand rather than using the actual drill itself, just so it all stays together. And then pick up your pliers, grip the end. You need to grip it fairly tightly, and slowly use the drill to twist the wires together. So like I said, make sure you got a good grip, and then it should all start coming together nicely. And yeah, there, it's a nice uniform shape and ready to be a good stem. So to get the wire ready to become petals, as it were, we're just going to fold it almost in half, so it's kind of like 3 hexagons on one side, 2 on the other, with a point in the middle. I'm just going to fold it all the way along. Obviously, if you want to make a thicker flower, you could use a longer piece of wire. I wouldn't go much shorter than this though, otherwise it will look a bit too thin. So we're just going to keep squeezing this all the way to the end. And then we go back on it again, just to make sure it's all nicely flattened. So, to make the rosebud, what we're going to do is fold over one of the 3 bits of wire that's left in, tuck it into one of the whole, make sure it's whole, connected on each side, pieces of the chicken wire, and then we're just going to wrap it round, poking that piece of wire into a hole each time as we go round. And then when we get to about 3 times round, we're going to fold over the 2 remaining parts of the stem into the chicken wire, just to hold it into place so it's a bit more structurally sound. And then we're going to continue rolling again, keeping it at a level to that point, and now we're going to start going up a little bit as we go in. Now we're pulling it, but we're not pulling it to the point we're stretching it, so we're keeping it fairly tight but not too tight. So now we're at the point where we have a bit of a lip, and we're near the end, so we're going to start working our way back down towards the base of a rose. And now at the end there should be 1 piece, like a point at the end, that we can use just to tuck into to the rest of the flower, and then make sure that's fully secure. We're going to find the 1 piece of stem that's still left, it's probably still poking out. We're just going to fold that over to make sure it's structurally secure. And that's that bit. Now we're going to make it look a bit more like a flower. Now you can wear gloves for this bit, it's probably advised. But now what we're going to do is just squeeze it. Just squeeze it with your fingers a little bit, and then we're going to squeeze some more with the pliers and just squeeze and kind of twist at the same time. And using our fingers again just to get the shape a bit more like a rounder sort of shape. And then we're just going to squeeze, not too hard that we're going to rip the thing apart, but hard enough to be able to move it, and just twist it around the stem there, and that will hold it into place. Now you don't want any sharp bits, but most of the bits will be blunted off a little bit by the paint anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about sharp bits, but any bits that are particularly poking out, just go round and just tuck them in. So I'm just tucking in the last few pieces, just to make sure there's no really pokey out bits. Just give it a bit of a squeeze, feel it with your fingers, make sure there's nothing particularly there, see if I can feel something that's not quite right, I think. So I'm just going to check it over again. So now what we're going to do is start to unfold the petals. So it's kind of opening up top of the flower. So we're going to start at the beginning and then just unwind as we go round, and just keep going round the flower until you get to the top really. You can do this as much as you want. Now, you don't have to do it quite as much as I do here. You can do it a little bit less if you want a slightly more closed rose. And as you get to the top, don't fold it over quite so much, kind of less of an arc on the petals. And that's the main shape of the flower done. Now once again, feel it one last time. See, I can feel a piece that there isn't quite right, so I'm just going to tuck that bit in. Just make sure there's no bits hanging off or that are really loose. Just give it one last going over. Now it's painting time. So we're gonna spray paint it red. So we're gonna cover the bits we don't want to get red in masking tape. So we're gonna go one kind of width of the masking tape around the base of the bud itself, because that will be green. Now the trick is not to put too much on, which I did here, as you'll see later about why we shouldn't put too much on. But we'll just put a piece now around the stem as well here. I'll leave a little bit hanging over at the edge because that will help hang it later. So get red spray paint, give it a good shake, hold it what the can says, distance away. You should do this outside really, or in a well ventilated area, definitely not on a computer desk like me. And just give it a few sprays. Don't want to put too much, otherwise it will clump in the middle. And yeah, that's it. Now I did 3 layers or 3 coats of this, but I hung it up upside down each time so the red doesn't go down the stem. So after the 3 layers, we're going to paint it by hand just to give it a touch up, cover any bits of metal you can still see through the red paint itself, and just give it a nice touch up, a nice little highlight of a red acrylic. So when that's done, leave that somewhere to dry, and then we get on to painting the stem and the base. So first battle is to get the masking tape back off the base. I had a little bit of trouble, as you can see. Just couldn't get it off. This is why you should use the least amount as possible. But at least it protected it from the green paint getting on there. So finally I got it all off. So as the rose made, as you saw there, you can actually stand it on the top of itself. So we're going to use that advantage after we've painted this green. We've put a nice thick coat of green on. Make sure you go over, like kind of overlap some of the red, just so you're not leaving any metal still showing. Put a nice thick coat on. Actually normally takes 2 coats really of this one. So yeah, make sure you do the bottom of the bud and all the way along the stem. And yeah, I'll probably give it 2 coats really, and then leave it to dry. You can leave it dry standing on its own head really. And yeah, that's it for the base really, to get it nicely painted all the way along. Don't worry too much about right to the end, because we're going to snip that off at the end anyway. After 2 coats and all of that painted, we're now ready to add the lacquer. The first thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of masking tape at the bottom so I can hang it again. You can hang it off the washing line if you like. So I'm going to add some lacquer. Obviously again, you want to do this in a well ventilated room or outside. Outside's the best, I find, for drying. Yeah, I'm just going to spray the rosebud first. Nice, being fairly generous. Obviously you don't want to add too much though, because it's all going to clamp together, and then a good amount on the stem as well, because the stem's in most place it's going to chip. Obviously you completely avoid this step if you're going to keep them inside, because it's not going to rust or anything. So last thing to do is just snip off the end that we did in lacquer, we covered with masking tape, and that's it done. If you liked the video, put a like on the video, and leave a comment. If you leave a comment of your favourite flower, perhaps I'll make that one next and show you how to make a wire version of that. And yeah, if you really enjoyed the video, subscribe. If you want to buy any of my stuff, my Etsy link will be in the description. Goodbye.